The alien queen's daughter went missing. What they found shocked everyone. In the quiet town of Willow Creek, life moved slowly. People knew each other by name, and everyone had a story. Yet, hidden among the ordinary houses and familiar streets was one that no one truly understood. It belonged to a woman known locally as the Alien Queen. Her real name was Marissa, but the townsfolk had given her this title because of the unusual way she lived her life. She was fascinated by the stars, planets, and anything beyond the sky. Her home was full of telescopes, charts, glowing star maps, and books about space and unexplained phenomena. Some said she had an otherworldly presence, like she was always looking for something just out of reach, something that most people could never see.
Marissa lived with her daughter, Lila.
Lila was 16, with bright eyes that mirrored her mother's curiosity and a mind that was always questioning. Unlike other teenagers, she didn't spend her evenings glued to her phone or gossiping with friends. Instead, she spent hours lying on the roof of their house, gazing at the night sky, counting stars, and wondering what lay beyond them.
From a young age, she had shared her mother's fascination with the universe.
She knew the names of constellations, could identify planets with a simple telescope, and even made small sketches of unidentified objects she had spotted in the night sky.
Despite Marissa's unusual interests, the mother and daughter shared a strong bond.
They were inseparable in many ways, bound by curiosity and imagination. Marissa often told Lila stories about distant galaxies, the mysteries of black holes, and the possibility that humans were not alone in the universe. Lila listened intently, absorbing every word as though it were a secret key to a hidden world. But as much as they were close, Marissa often warned her daughter about the dangers of wandering too far or trusting strangers who promised knowledge about other worlds. She knew the world was not always kind to those who saw it differently. One chilly autumn evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and the sky turned a deep shade of indigo, Lila prepared for one of her nightly adventures. She had discovered a trail leading into the dense forest just beyond the town. The forest was known for its tall, ancient trees and hidden paths that twisted like a labyrinth. Local children often whispered about strange sounds and glowing lights in the woods, but most adults dismissed these tales as mere stories. Lila, however, felt drawn to the forest, especially after noticing unusual flickers of light among the treetops the previous night. Her curiosity, coupled with the lessons from her mother, pushed her to explore further. Before leaving, she made sure to pack a small bag with essentials, her notebook, a flashlight, and a few snacks. She also carried her mother's old compass, which Marissa had insisted she always bring on outdoor adventures. Lila's heart raced with excitement and a hint of fear. She knew that wandering into the forest alone was risky, but the pull of the unknown was irresistible. The deeper she ventured, the quieter the world became. The chirping of crickets replaced the hum of the town, and the occasional rustle of leaves underfoot seemed louder than usual. The forest felt alive, as if it were watching her, guiding her steps in a direction she could not yet understand. Back at home, Marissa was preparing for her evening telescope session. She often observed the skies at night, hoping for a glimpse of something extraordinary. As she adjusted her telescope, she noticed the familiar sound of the door creaking, a signal that Lila had left. She glanced at the clock. Lila had promised to be back before dark. A sense of unease crept over her. The forest could be dangerous at night, and Lila was still young. Marissa called out, "Lila, are you sure you'll be back soon?" But there was no answer. The only reply was the soft rustle of leaves carried by the evening wind. Hours passed, and the sky grew darker. Marissa's unease turned into worry. She grabbed a flashlight and hurried to the edge of the forest, calling out for her daughter. The sound of her voice echoed through the trees but was met with silence. Panic began to set in. Willow Creek was a small town, and word spread quickly when someone went missing. Neighbors came out, offering to help search, but the forest was vast and full of hidden paths. Marissa felt helpless, the fear of losing her daughter gnawing at her heart. As the night deepened, search parties formed. Volunteers with flashlights, ropes, and radios combed the forest, moving carefully among the tall trees and underbrush. The local authorities were called in, but even with their experience, the forest proved difficult to navigate. Strange details started to emerge. There were footprints leading off the main trail, only to vanish abruptly. Twigs and leaves were scattered in unusual patterns, as if someone, or something, had moved swiftly through the trees. Marissa clung to hope, repeating her daughter's name over and over, unwilling to believe the worst.
Meanwhile, Lila moved cautiously through a narrow path she had discovered earlier in the evening.
Her senses were heightened, every sound amplified. The whisper of the wind, the snap of a twig, the distant hoot of an owl. She paused, staring at the faint glow ahead. It wasn't like the soft moonlight or the flicker of fireflies. This was something different, almost metallic, shimmering in colors she couldn't name. She felt a strange pull toward it, as if it were calling her. The logical part of her mind screamed to turn back, but her curiosity urged her forward. Back at the search site, Marissa refused to leave. She sat near the forest entrance, scanning the darkness with her flashlight and praying silently. The townspeople took turns keeping her company, but no one could soothe the growing fear in her eyes. The forest, which had once seemed like a place of wonder and exploration, now felt ominous and vast. Every rustle, every shadow made the heart race. Yet, somewhere deep inside, Marissa held on to a quiet hope. She believed her daughter was intelligent and resourceful, capable of finding a way even in the face of danger. As the night progressed, some townsfolk reported seeing strange lights in the distance, moving in patterns too precise to be natural. Some whispered about UFOs, recalling stories of unexplained sightings in Willow Creek over the years. Others dismissed it as reflections of flashlights or the glow of distant stars. Marissa, however, felt a familiar stir of recognition. She had always believed in the possibility of life beyond Earth, and the idea that her daughter might have encountered something extraordinary was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. By midnight, the search had become a careful, methodical effort. Teams spread out in grids calling Lila's name, listening for any reply. Drones hovered above, their cameras scanning the treetops for movement. Dogs trained to track scents worked tirelessly, sniffing every footprint and fallen leaf. Marissa followed closely, her eyes never leaving the dark forest. Fear and hope intertwined, creating a tension that gripped every person present. Somewhere in the forest, Lila stopped and knelt, examining the glowing object ahead. It was small, floating just above the ground, casting soft light in every direction. She reached out tentatively, unsure whether it was real or a trick of her imagination. The forest around her seemed to hold its breath, silent except for the rhythmic beating of her own heart. She felt a mix of wonder, fear, and curiosity that she had never experienced before. Every instinct screamed caution, yet every fiber of her being wanted to understand. Meanwhile, back at the edge of the forest, Marissa noticed movement in the trees. A shadow flitted past, too fast to be human. She froze, her breath catching in her throat. Could it be her daughter? Could it be something else entirely? She called out again, her voice cracking with emotion. But the darkness swallowed her words. The forest seemed alive, full of secrets it was not ready to reveal. The night stretched on, long and tense. Marissa refused to leave, keeping her flashlight steady, scanning the shadows, calling her daughter's name. Willow Creek was silent, save for the occasional voice of a volunteer or the bark of a search dog. Each minute felt like an hour, and each hour felt like a lifetime. The bond between mother and daughter, built over years of shared curiosity and love, held strong, giving Marissa the strength to continue searching despite exhaustion.
As dawn approached, a faint rustling reached Marissa's ears.
She squinted into the dim light, her heart leaping. Could it be her daughter returning? Or was it another shadow in the forest? The line between fear and hope blurred as she took careful steps toward the sound, gripping her flashlight tightly. The night had been long and filled with uncertainty, but Marissa refused to give up. Somewhere out there, her daughter was waiting to be found. And she would not rest until Lila was safe in her arms again. The first light of dawn painted the sky in soft shades of pink and orange, but the forest remained a shadowy maze of trees, fog, and mystery.
Marissa had spent the night near the forest edge, her eyes red from exhaustion, her voice hoarse from calling Lila's name.
Yet she refused to give up. Every rustle of leaves, every distant snap of a twig made her heart race. Volunteers and neighbors gathered around her, forming a fragile circle of hope and worry.
Everyone in Willow Creek felt the tension. The disappearance of the young girl had shaken the small town to its core.
Authorities had arrived shortly after midnight. 2 patrol officers, a detective, and a few experienced search and rescue volunteers quickly organized a plan. They marked areas already searched, set up temporary communication points, and coordinated with local residents who knew the forest well.
The volunteers had experience with hiking, camping, and navigating rough terrain, but none had ever encountered anything quite like this.
The forest seemed to stretch endlessly, each tree blending into the next, and hidden trails wound through it like an intricate puzzle. Marissa worked alongside them, refusing to stay behind. Her mind was a whirlwind of fear and hope, replaying memories of Lila as a child, climbing trees, chasing butterflies, asking endless questions about the stars. She remembered Lila's eyes lighting up when she talked about constellations and planets, and the way she always paused at the edge of a trail to wonder what lay beyond. That curiosity, which had always been her greatest strength, now placed her in danger. Still, Marissa believed Lila was capable of making careful choices. She prayed that her daughter's sense of adventure would guide her safely through the forest. As the search continued, volunteers noticed unusual patterns in the forest. Some trees appeared scratched in strange ways, almost as if something or someone had moved quickly along the trunks. Small patches of scorched earth appeared in places that did not make sense, and delicate, metallic fragments were scattered across the ground. They glimmered faintly in the morning light, reflecting hints of colors that did not belong in nature. People whispered to each other, some nervously joking about aliens, while others shook their heads in disbelief. Marissa stayed focused, her eyes scanning every shadow, refusing to let fear take hold. Meanwhile, Lila moved cautiously through the forest's denser regions. She had noticed the trail leading to a narrow gorge, partially hidden by thick vines. The glowing light she had seen the previous night seemed to pulse faintly, almost like it was waiting for her. Her curiosity urged her forward, but a quiet voice in her mind reminded her of her mother's warnings. Stay aware, stay careful, and trust your instincts.
Lila did her best to follow that advice, keeping one eye on the strange light and the other on the forest around her.
The wind whispered softly through the leaves, and for a moment she felt a strange calm.
It was as if the forest itself was guiding her steps.
Hours passed, and the search became more structured. Teams spread out in grids, using ropes to navigate steep slopes and walkie-talkies to communicate. One group discovered a small clearing where the ground appeared to have been disturbed recently. Footprints led toward a cave-like formation, partially hidden by dense undergrowth. The detective examined the tracks closely, noting that they seemed human but disappeared in areas where the soil was loose. It was as if someone had stepped lightly enough to leave no trace. Marissa hurried over when she heard the news, her heart pounding with renewed hope.
Could this be the first clue?
At the same time, Lila approached the cave carefully. The air grew cooler as she stepped closer, and the glow of the strange light became more noticeable. It was soft, almost soothing, and it seemed to beckon her inside. She paused at the entrance, taking a deep breath. Every instinct told her to be careful, yet something deep within her whispered that she was on the right path. Slowly, she stepped inside, her flashlight barely illuminating the rocky walls. The cave smelled of damp earth and moss, and the echoes of her footsteps sounded louder than she expected. Inside the cave, Leela noticed something extraordinary. The walls were covered with strange symbols etched delicately as if by careful hands. They shimmered faintly, reflecting the light from her flashlight. Some symbols looked like constellations, while others seemed completely alien. Her curiosity flared. She took out her notebook and began sketching the patterns, her mind racing with questions. Who made these? Why here? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft hum, almost musical, resonating from deeper within the cave. It was not frightening, but it was unlike any sound she had ever heard. She felt drawn further in, cautiously following the source of the hum. Back at the forest edge, Marissa's worry had reached a peak. The discovery of the footprints in the cave offered hope, but it also intensified fear. She could not stop thinking about all the possibilities, and every minute felt like a test of patience and endurance. Local volunteers suggested that she stay back, but Marissa refused. She insisted on accompanying the teams into the forest, believing that her familiarity with Lila's personality and habits might help them anticipate where her daughter could be.
The detective agreed reluctantly, allowing Marissa to join the search party heading toward the cave.
As the search team moved deeper into the forest, they began noticing more unusual signs. Tiny metallic fragments sparkled intermittently among the leaves, similar to what had been seen earlier. A faint, almost imperceptible hum filled the air, growing slightly louder as they approached the cave entrance. Some volunteers exchanged uneasy glances, while others joked nervously, trying to ease the tension. Marissa ignored the murmurs, her focus solely on finding Leela. Her heart leapt when she saw the faint glow emanating from the cave's mouth. Inside the cave, Lila continued to follow the glow and the hum. She felt a strange sense of calm, almost as if she were being guided rather than lost. Her curiosity mixed with a growing sense of wonder and awe. The further she went, the more intricate the symbols became, and the more the cave seemed alive. Occasionally, she noticed small metallic objects embedded in the walls, reflecting light like miniature stars. Lila could not explain it, but she felt that she was meant to be here. The forest, the cave, the glow, all of it seemed connected to something larger than herself, something mysterious and unknown. Outside, the search team reached the cave entrance. Marissa's eyes scanned every shadow, every glimmer of light. The detective called out Lila's name, and she responded faintly from within.
Relief washed over Marissa, but it was quickly replaced by a careful caution.
She instructed the team to move slowly, ensuring that they could navigate safely through the uneven terrain. The glow inside the cave pulsed gently, illuminating the path forward, and Marissa felt an unshakable belief that her daughter was nearby. As they entered the cave, Marissa noticed the symbols on the walls, shimmering faintly in the light of flashlights. She called Lila again, and the young girl appeared from deeper inside, her eyes wide with awe. The hum grew slightly louder, almost as if it recognized their presence. Lila ran toward her mother, relief evident in her expression. Marissa embraced her tightly, tears streaming down her face. For a moment, the danger of the night melted away, replaced by the profound bond between mother and daughter. The detective examined the cave carefully, noting the unusual artifacts and symbols. He instructed the volunteers to document everything, taking photos and making notes. Some of the metallic fragments were unusual, unlike anything seen before, sparking questions and speculation among the searchers. Marissa watched quietly, still holding Lila's hand, her mind racing with questions of her own. She felt a mix of awe, fear, and curiosity. What had her daughter seen? What did the symbols mean? And why had the forest seemed to guide Lila so carefully? After a thorough examination, the team decided to escort Lila and Marissa safely back to the forest edge. Lila's experience, though mysterious, had ended safely, but it left a lingering sense of wonder and unanswered questions. The glowing cave, the symbols, and the metallic fragments were all carefully documented for further investigation. Some volunteers speculated wildly about extraterrestrial life, while others insisted on natural explanations. Marissa remained silent, absorbing every detail, determined to understand what had happened. As they emerged from the forest, the sun had risen higher, casting golden light over Willow Creek. The townspeople who had gathered at the edge of the forest cheered softly, relief washing over their faces.
Lila's return marked the end of a terrifying night, yet the mysterious events of the forest lingered in everyone's minds.
Questions about the glowing light, the hum, and the strange symbols remained unanswered. For Marissa, the experience was a mix of fear and wonder. She knew that life would never be the same, and that her daughter's curiosity had led them to something extraordinary. That night, in the safety of their home, Marissa and Lila spoke quietly about the experience. Lila described the hum, the glowing objects, and the intricate symbols with a mix of awe and excitement. Marissa listened intently, documenting everything carefully. Together, they reflected on the mysteries of the forest and the possibilities it suggested. While the experience had been frightening, it had also revealed something extraordinary. A world of wonder and discovery that neither of them had fully understood before. After the intense and exhausting search through the forest, life in Willow Creek seemed to calm for a brief moment. Lila had returned safely, and the townspeople were relieved. Yet, the sense of mystery did not fade. The strange cave, the glowing light, and the metallic fragments remained unexplained. Marissa could not stop thinking about what had happened. She had always known there were mysteries beyond human understanding, but this experience felt larger, more extraordinary than anything she had imagined. She spent hours documenting every detail in her notebook, drawing sketches of the cave walls, the symbols, and the objects that shimmered in ways she could not explain. Lila, on the other hand, seemed changed. She spoke less of fear and more of wonder. Her eyes glimmered with excitement as she described the hum she had heard deep inside the cave, and the way the metallic fragments reflected the light like tiny stars. Though she was safe, there was a quiet seriousness in her demeanor, as if she had glimpsed something far greater than herself. She told her mother it was like the cave was alive. I felt guided, like someone or something wanted me to find it.
Marissa nodded, her heart both heavy and hopeful.
She knew her daughter had encountered something extraordinary, and she was determined to understand it. Days passed, and the small town of Willow Creek could not stop talking about the event. Scientists, journalists, and curious visitors began arriving, eager to see the cave and the mysterious artifacts. The detective and local authorities allowed limited access to the site under careful supervision. Marissa and Lila returned to the forest with the experts, hoping to provide guidance. As they walked toward the cave, Lila felt a familiar pull, the same quiet urging that had led her inside before. She followed her instincts carefully, aware of every sound, every shadow, every change in the air. When they reached the cave, the experts were astonished. The symbols on the walls shimmered faintly, as if alive, and the metallic fragments scattered across the ground reflected the morning sunlight in iridescent colors. Lila stepped forward, her eyes wide.
"It's the same," she whispered.
It hasn't changed. The scientists carefully examined the walls and the objects, taking samples and photographs. One of them, a physicist named Dr. Kemen Temograph,
Bent down to inspect a fragment more closely.
This is unlike anything we've seen on Earth, he murmured. The material doesn't match any known alloy or mineral. It's extraordinary.
Marissa watched quietly, holding her daughter's hand. Pride mixed with awe and fear as she realized how significant this moment could be. Lila's curiosity had led them to something remarkable, something beyond ordinary human understanding.
The forest, once a place of fear and danger, now seemed like a doorway to discovery.
The scientists continued their examination, carefully documenting every detail, while Lila explored cautiously, pointing out areas that had seemed important to her during her initial journey.
Suddenly, a faint hum filled the cave again.
It was soft, almost imperceptible at first, but it grew steadily louder, resonating through the walls. Lila froze, recognizing the sound immediately. Her heart raced with a mix of excitement and apprehension.
"It's the same sound I heard before," she said quietly.
The scientists paused, exchanging confused glances. The hum was unlike anything they could identify, mechanical, organic, and somehow harmonious all at once. It vibrated through the air, touching every surface, filling the cave with a strange, otherworldly energy. Encouraged by the scientists' careful guidance, Lila moved closer to the source of the hum. It seemed to come from a small alcove deep inside the cave, partially hidden by jagged rocks. The air felt cooler, almost alive, as if the cave itself was responding to her presence. She knelt near a faintly glowing object, her fingers hovering just above it. DJ spinning from the stage, the object was small and metallic, shaped unlike any tool or device she had ever seen. Tiny patterns etched into its surface shimmered as her light reflected off them, and she felt an unexplainable connection to it. Her instincts told her to touch it, but caution stayed her hand. Keller approached, examining the object with his scientific tools. "The energy it emits is minimal but measurable," he explained.
It doesn't follow any known electrical or magnetic pattern. This is something entirely new.
Lila listened, fascinated, and Marissa felt a chill run down her spine. The forest, the cave, and the object were no longer simple mysteries. They were something extraordinary, something that challenged everything they knew about the world. As the examination continued, Lila noticed movement in the shadows deeper within the cave. She froze, her eyes wide, unsure if it was her imagination. The faint glow seemed to react, brightening slightly, as if acknowledging the presence of something else. Marissa noticed her daughter's expression and approached carefully. "Lila, are you okay?" she whispered. Lila nodded slowly, but her gaze remained fixed on the darkness ahead. Something, or someone, was there, hidden, observing. The cave seemed alive, not in the ordinary sense, but in a way that suggested intelligence, curiosity, and awareness. Hours passed as the team explored the cave. The scientists collected samples, documented symbols, and recorded the hum. Lila's keen observation helped them locate areas of interest that had gone unnoticed. She pointed out patterns in the walls that resembled star maps, sequences of symbols that seemed to tell a story, and small metallic fragments embedded in the rock, as if placed carefully. Each discovery deepened the mystery. The cave was not just a natural formation, it was a place of intention, a space created with purpose. By evening, the team decided to return to Willow Creek, taking careful notes and leaving the cave undisturbed. Lila walked with a quiet confidence, her mind buzzing with questions. She felt different, as if the cave had changed something inside her. Marissa held her hand, sensing the shift. "You were brave," she said softly. Lila smiled faintly. "I had to follow it," she replied. "I think it wanted me to see it." Marissa nodded, unsure whether she understood fully, but trusting her daughter's instincts. Back in town, news of the cave spread quickly. Journalists and scientists from other areas arrived, eager to investigate the strange symbols and metallic fragments. Some suggested extraterrestrial involvement, while others debated the possibility of unknown natural phenomena.
Lila became the focus of attention, not as a celebrity, but as someone who had experienced the extraordinary firsthand.
She spoke carefully about what she had seen, emphasizing the beauty and mystery of the cave rather than fear. Her words inspired curiosity and wonder, leaving listeners both awed and thoughtful. Marissa, meanwhile, took on the role of guardian and chronicler. She carefully documented everything Lila had shared, cross-referencing with the scientist's notes. She created detailed sketches, mapped the cave, and wrote descriptions of the glowing objects, metallic fragments, and shimmering symbols. Every detail mattered, for she knew that understanding the cave and its mysteries could take years, perhaps a lifetime. The mother and daughter worked together, their bond strengthened by the shared experience and the weight of discovery. One evening, while reviewing the cave maps, Lila paused and pointed to a cluster of symbols she had not noticed before. "Look," she said softly.
"These aren't like the others. They look
like instructions." Marissa leaned closer, examining the etchings. Indeed, they appeared different, more deliberate, more precise. The scientists were called back to the cave to study the new patterns. Their excitement was palpable. If these symbols are instructions, they might tell us more about the objects or the cave itself, Dr. Eller said, his voice filled with awe. As days turned into weeks, the cave became a center of careful study. Lila's presence guided the research, her observations proving invaluable. The symbols, hum, and metallic fragments continued to defy conventional explanations, leaving scientists both puzzled and fascinated. Marissa and Lila remained at the center of the investigation, their courage and curiosity driving the search for answers. Through it all, the forest and cave held their secrets closely, offering glimpses of the unknown while remaining largely mysterious. Despite the attention and excitement, Lila remained humble and thoughtful. She understood that the cave was special and that its mysteries might not be fully understood for a long time. She spoke often about respect for the place and its hidden wonders. Marissa supported her, encouraging careful exploration and documentation while ensuring her daughter's safety. Together, they navigated the delicate balance between curiosity and caution, aware that the cave represented something larger than themselves, a connection to the unknown that demanded both awe and respect. By the end of the month, Willow Creek had transformed. The story of Lila's journey through the cave captured the imagination of the entire town and beyond. Scientists continued their studies, journalists reported cautiously, and visitors came to witness the mystery firsthand. Yet for Marissa and Lila, the cave was personal, a place of discovery, growth, and wonder. It was a reminder that curiosity, courage, and careful observation could reveal truths beyond ordinary understanding. As they sat together one evening reviewing sketches and notes, Marissa turned to her daughter and said, "We've seen something incredible, but this is just the beginning." Lila nodded, her eyes reflecting both excitement and reverence. "I think the cave wants us to learn," she replied softly. And in that quiet moment, mother and daughter understood that their journey was far from over. The forest and its hidden cave had shown them a glimpse of something extraordinary, and the world beyond Willow Creek would never look the same again. After weeks of intense investigation, Willow Creek had become a town transformed. The forest that once seemed ordinary now held secrets that attracted scientists, journalists, and curious visitors from far and wide.
Lila and her mother Marissa were at the center of this attention, but they remained grounded, careful, and respectful of the strange cave that had changed their lives.
The cave was still shrouded in mystery, its glowing symbols, metallic fragments, and faint hum continuing to puzzle even the most brilliant minds. Yet for Marissa and Lila, the cave had become more than a puzzle. It had become a place of wonder, learning, and connection. Lila felt both excitement and responsibility. She had been the first to discover the glowing light, and she had guided the scientists through the cave, pointing out patterns and details that no one else had noticed. She had learned to trust her instincts and to move carefully, balancing curiosity with caution. Marissa watched her daughter with pride. Lila had shown courage and intelligence beyond her years. She had faced the unknown without fear, guided by a mix of curiosity and intuition that had kept her safe. The mother-daughter bond had grown stronger than ever, forged through shared discovery and the trials of fear and uncertainty. The scientists continued to study the cave, documenting every symbol and artifact in detail. Dr. Keller and his team had brought advanced equipment to analyze the metallic fragments and the glowing objects. Despite their expertise, the materials remained unexplained. They did not match anything on Earth. The metallic fragments had a faint energy that seemed to respond to touch or proximity, and the glow in the cave pulsed gently, as though alive. The symbols, which had seemed like star maps and instructions, hinted at knowledge far beyond human understanding. Lila's observations had been invaluable in interpreting the sequences, yet even she could not fully explain their meaning. The town of Willow Creek adjusted to the new reality. Life went on, but the memory of Lila's disappearance and discovery lingered in everyone's minds. People walked more carefully near the forest, some hesitant to enter, others drawn by curiosity. Children whispered about the glowing cave and metallic fragments, while adults debated the possibilities: extraterrestrial visitors, unknown natural phenomena, or a message from beyond human understanding. Marissa and Lila continued to live quietly, documenting their observations and assisting scientists, careful not to draw unnecessary attention, while still sharing the truth of what they had experienced. One afternoon, Lila returned to the cave with Marissa and a small team of experts. She felt the familiar pull, a quiet urging to explore further. The metallic fragments glimmered softly, and the symbols shimmered faintly, almost as if greeting her. She traced her fingers lightly over the carvings, feeling a connection that she could not explain. The hum resonated again, soft but steady, filling the cave with a gentle vibration that seemed almost musical. Lila felt calm, as if the cave itself was communicating in a language she could understand intuitively. Marissa watched closely, sensing the awe and reverence in her daughter's demeanor. As the team explored deeper into the cave, they discovered something new. Hidden behind a large rock formation was a small chamber, previously unnoticed. The chamber was illuminated by a faint internal glow, casting soft light on a cluster of objects arranged carefully on the floor. Metallic pieces of varying shapes, intricate symbols etched into the stone walls, and small crystalline formations reflected the light in mesmerizing patterns. Lila stepped closer, recognizing the layout from her sketches. "It's like a message," she whispered.
Someone wanted this to be found. Dr. Keller nodded, equally astonished, taking careful notes and photographs.
Marissa felt a mixture of fear and excitement. She reached for Lila's hand. "Be careful," she said softly. Lila smiled faintly, her confidence steady. "I am," she replied. "I feel safe here." The scientists moved cautiously, examining the chamber without disturbing the arrangement. The energy in the air was palpable, a subtle vibration that seemed to respond to their presence. The cave had become more than a place of mystery. It had become a space that encouraged respect, curiosity, and reflection. Over the following days, Lila and Marissa worked closely with the scientific team. They shared insights, made observations, and helped interpret the symbols. Some of the symbols appeared to correspond to astronomical charts, mapping stars and planetary movements with precision beyond what humans could calculate. Others suggested sequences, patterns, or instructions for interacting with the metallic fragments. The more they studied, the more the cave seemed to reveal a story of intelligence, intention, and communication. Yet, despite the knowledge gained, much remained unknown. The cave had shared only a fraction of its secrets. The town of Willow Creek became a place of cautious fascination. Visitors arrived daily hoping to witness the cave's glow, see the metallic fragments, or learn from the scientists. The story of Lila's adventure had spread far beyond the town, inspiring curiosity and wonder. Yet for Marissa and Lila, the cave remained deeply personal. They understood that it was not just a scientific site, but a place of discovery, respect, and connection. Lila often reminded herself and her mother that the cave was alive in a way, guiding them, revealing only what was ready to be seen.
One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, casting long shadows across the town, Lila and Marissa returned to the cave for a quiet visit.
The forest was still and calm, the sounds of wildlife filling the air. Lila stepped inside, tracing her fingers over familiar symbols, feeling the faint vibration of energy beneath her fingertips. Marissa watched, a quiet awe filling her heart. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Lila nodded.
"It is," she replied. "And I think it's telling us that there's more out there than we understand. We just have to keep looking."
The scientists continued their work, carefully studying the objects and symbols, but they respected the limits of the cave. They understood that some mysteries could not be rushed. The metallic fragments were catalogued and analyzed, the glowing objects measured and recorded, and the symbols carefully documented. Yet no explanation fully satisfied their curiosity. The cave had revealed enough to amaze them, but it had not given away all its secrets. It remained a place of wonder, carefully balanced between the known and the unknown. Marissa and Lila also reflected on how the experience had changed them. Lila had grown more confident, thoughtful, and aware of the importance of observation and patience. She had faced fear and uncertainty with courage and curiosity, learning to trust her instincts and respect the mysteries around her. Marissa had witnessed her daughter's growth, feeling proud and humbled. Together, they had discovered not only the cave but also the strength of their bond, the power of curiosity, and the value of careful observation. As months passed, the cave remained a place of careful exploration. Lila continued to visit with Marissa, often sketching the symbols or observing the metallic fragments. The hum continued, subtle but persistent, a reminder of the extraordinary experience that had begun months earlier. Scientists returned occasionally, eager to study new observations, but all approached the cave with respect, understanding that it was more than just a collection of objects. It was a space of wonder, discovery, and possibility. One day, Lila noticed something remarkable. A faint pattern of light formed on the walls, aligning perfectly with a sequence of symbols she had previously recorded. The glow pulsed gently, almost as if acknowledging her presence. She traced the pattern with her fingers, feeling a sense of understanding wash over her. "It's like it's responding," she whispered. Marissa stood beside her, awe evident in her eyes. "It's alive in a way," she said softly. "Not like we are, but in its own way." Lila nodded, a quiet smile spreading across her face. Despite the excitement and curiosity, Lila and Marissa remained grounded. They understood that the cave held more secrets than anyone could fully comprehend. It had shared some knowledge, revealed some mysteries, and inspired awe, but it also demanded patience and respect. They had learned the importance of careful observation, of trusting instincts, and of balancing curiosity with caution. The experience had changed them, deepened their bond, and opened a window into the extraordinary possibilities of the universe. In Willow Creek, life continued, but the town had been forever changed. The forest and cave had revealed a story of mystery, intelligence, and wonder. Visitors continued to come, scientists continued to study, and Lila and Marissa continued to learn. The cave had shown them that the world was larger, stranger, and more beautiful than they had imagined. It had also shown them that courage, curiosity, and careful observation could lead to discoveries beyond imagination. On a quiet evening, as the sky turned shades of pink and gold, Lila and Marissa stood at the edge of the cave, gazing at the glowing symbols. "We'll never know everything," Lila said softly. "But that's okay. Some mysteries are meant to inspire us, not to be solved." Marissa nodded, smiling. "And we'll keep exploring, together," she replied. They turned toward the forest, hand in hand, ready to face the unknown with courage, curiosity, and wonder. The cave remained a place of mystery. The metallic fragments continued to shimmer, and the hum echoed softly through the walls. But for Lila and Marissa, it was also a place of discovery, connection, and growth. It had revealed a world beyond the ordinary, inspiring awe and curiosity, while reminding them of the importance of courage, patience, and respect. Willow Creek would never be the same, and neither would they. But in that change, they found something extraordinary. A deeper understanding of the world, of each other, and of the limitless possibilities that lay beyond the stars.